You know what's wild? You retire to the coast to enjoy your golden years, sip gin and tonic while watching waves, and quietly contemplate all your regrets in peace. And then, out of nowhere, your neighbor turns out to be the plot twist you didn't ask for. Welcome to the story of Dennis Moorcraft, a man who just wants to be left alone with his grief, his expensive Cape Town apartment, and a vague idea of family that only calls when they need something. But fate, as it often does, says, "Not today, Dennis." Dennis is a retired guy. He's moved from the chaos of Johannesburg to the serene coastline of Cape Town. Picture palm trees, clean air, and silence thick enough to hear yourself aging. His wife, who he dearly loved, has passed from cancer. His kids? They're abroad, doing whatever adult children do when they don't want to be near their parents. Probably yoga and kombucha. Well, except for Melissa. Melissa is the one child still in South Africa, but not in Cape Town. She's clinging to the Johannesburg house like it's the last good memory she has. And fair enough, Dennis did promise his dying wife not to rent it out or let anyone else live there. So the house sits there, empty, like Dennis's heart. Melissa doesn't move in with her father. She just visits once in a while. So Dennis is left alone in a big, plush, expensive apartment by the sea, with no one to talk to but the furniture. Then one night, something changes. A small thing. The for sale sign on the house next door disappears. Dennis blinks. Is this social activity? Yes, dear viewer, a new neighbor. Now the new neighbor isn't your average meet and greet kind of guy. No, he's quiet, elusive, comes and goes like a puff of mist. You blink, he's gone. You yawn, and he's behind you making coffee. This man has mystery. Eventually, Dennis and the man, let's call him Bradshaw, get talking. And as with all things involving men over the age of 60, it begins with a few shots of whiskey. They get to know each other. Bradshaw's an artist. Dennis is surprised. Artist in Cape Town? Who would have thought?
She paints too, he says. She visits now and then. You should meet.
Oh, Dennis, if only you knew. So Melissa visits, and as promised, Dennis introduces her to Bradshaw. She's a young, ambitious, talented artist. He's an older, mysterious, charming man. I mean, what could go wrong? Apparently everything. Because sparks fly. Not the kind Dennis hoped for. The romantic kind. Yes, Melissa and Bradshaw begin a relationship. And this isn't just a coffee date and walk by the beach fling. It's serious. Serious enough to make Dennis very, very uncomfortable. This man is old enough to be Melissa's father. And more than that, he has secrets. The kind of secrets that don't just stay buried. The kind of secrets that eventually start bubbling up in media reports. Articles, whispers, mentions on TV. The isn't that your daughter's boyfriend on the news? Kind of secrets. Dennis, worried, tries to talk to Melissa.
I'm just worried, Melissa. Can you understand that? Can you understand someone else's feelings for once?
Her response?
F*** you.
And that, my friend, is the sound of a generational and emotional chasm opening wide. Dennis is stuck. His daughter is adamant. She wants what she wants. And Bradshaw? He's not saying much. But more and more about him starts surfacing. Turns out Bradshaw is involved in political controversies. Yes, the serious kind. Melissa, by association, gets dragged into it. Public scrutiny, accusations, mudslinging, the works. Soon, Melissa's entire life is under threat. Her career, her safety, her future, and she's forced to make a devastating decision: disappear. Leave everything she's built, including the father who tried to warn her. Live incognito. All Dennis is left with is silence. Again. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, wow, that escalated fast, you're not wrong. But that's exactly what makes this story so quietly gripping. It doesn't rely on melodrama or spectacle. Instead, it offers something more universal, more painful, more human. A father trying to protect his daughter. A daughter pushing for her independence. A past that won't stay buried. And love, tangled, imperfect, and hard to let go of. The real question is, where do we draw the line between care and control, between protection and intrusion? Should a parent step in if they believe their child is heading into danger, even if that child insists they're grown and free to make their own decisions? It's not an easy answer, but it's a question Icebergs forces you to wrestle with. Yes, Icebergs. That's the name of the short story. written by South African author Alistair Morgan, and first published in the Paris Review in 2007. The story was shortlisted for the 10th Caine Prize for African Writing in 2009, and for good reason. It's quietly brilliant, not in a flashy look-at-me way, but in the way it gently chips away at your assumptions about family, loneliness, love, and aging. It reminds us that African stories are not just about rural villages, civil wars, or dusty markets. Here's a tale set in a clean coastal apartment with a retired white South African man and a mysterious neighbor. It's a deeply emotional story about family dynamics. And still, corruption creeps in. Power still taints relationships. But it doesn't dominate the narrative. It haunts it, I'll be honest. This is one of the most quietly powerful African stories I've read in a while. It made me think of my own relationships. About what we do when we see someone we love heading toward a cliff, and they won't stop walking. About the pain of watching without interfering, or interfering and being pushed away. There's a TWI proverb that sums this up perfectly. It is adulthood that no one has reached before, not childhood. Meaning, we've all been children. But very few of us truly understand adulthood until we're in it. And that's what this story's about. That gap in understanding, that generational blind spot. Morgan writes it with restraint. The story is short, but it carries the weight of a novel. It's full of silences, things not said, and those silences speak louder than any monologue. This is Icebergs by Alistair Morgan. If you're interested, you can find it in the Paris Review archives or in the 2008 O. Henry Prize Stories anthology. It was also nominated for other literary awards, and it's not hard to see why. Morgan's other works include the novel Sleeper's Wake, published in 2009 to much acclaim. He was the first non-American to win the Paris Review's George Plimpton Prize. His other short story, Departure, was also featured in the Paris Review and received a National Magazine Award nomination. He lives in Cape Town, and clearly he knows how to write stories that get under your skin. So if you're in the mood for a quiet, emotionally intelligent, layered African short story, one that challenges stereotypes and asks real questions about family, freedom, and fear, then give Icebergs a read. And if you've ever found yourself either ignoring your parents' advice or trying to stop your child from ruining their life, this story might hit home harder than you expect. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this review, subscribe, and drop a comment. Let me know. What would you do if your child fell for someone you couldn't trust? Till next time, keep reading, keep questioning, and remember, not all icebergs sink ships. Some just float silently, reminding us of what lies beneath the surface. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're interested in diving deeper into this book, I've left some links down in the description. You can use it to grab yourself a copy and keep the adventure going. And if you're in the mood for more great reads, don't go just yet. Click on one of the videos popping up right now that I think you'll love. And don't forget to give this review a like, leave a comment, or even subscribe if you'd like to see more. Every bit of support helps us grow this little community of book lovers. See you in the next one.